You are 17 years old, and you don't have a name yet. Not here, not in this world. Here you are a number without the number, a body that shows up at the corner of Calle Nogal at 5 in the morning because someone told you to, and you showed up because there was nothing else to show up for. The air smells like exhaust and wet concrete. The desert doesn't care that it's cold. You are wearing the wrong jacket. You learn quickly that this is your fault. A man named Chucho hands you a phone and tells you to watch the road. That's it. Watch the road. You stand there for 4 hours. A truck passes, then another. You text the number he gave you when a patrol car rolls by. 30 seconds later, the corner is empty except for you. Nobody comes back to tell you if you did it right. You go home. Your mother asks where you were. You say, outside. She doesn't ask again, because somewhere underneath the question, she already knows the shape of the answer, and she is not ready to hold it. The next morning, Chucho gives you $40. $40 for 4 hours in the cold. You stand a little straighter when you take it. That is the first thing they take from you. They take it before you know it's gone. They take the part of you that knows $40 is not enough, and they replace it with the part that believes $40 means you matter. You go back the next day, and the day after that. Within 6 weeks, you know the shift rotation of every patrol unit in a 12-block radius. You know which vendors are paid. You know which ones aren't yet. You know the sound of a car engine that doesn't belong on this street, that low, deliberate idle, the way it slows without stopping. You are 17 years old, and you are already fluent in a language that has no words. Chucho watches you, not warmly, functionally, the way a mechanic watches an engine turning over for the first time, looking for the failure point, waiting to see if you are reliable or if you are waste. You are not waste. You are cold in the mornings, and you are hungry most of the time, and your shoes have a hole in the left sole that fills with water when it rains. But you are not waste, and that distinction, that narrow, grinding distinction, becomes the thing you carry. By 19, you move product, not large quantities, small packages, wrapped tight, passed hand to hand with the precision of a postal system that operates entirely on fear and protocol. You learn the routes, you learn the faces. You know who is slow and who is greedy and who is both. You are not told to notice these things. You notice them anyway. That is why at 21, a man named Rodrigo, not Chucho anymore, Chucho is no longer relevant, tells you that you are being moved up. He doesn't say promoted. No one here says promoted. He says you are being moved up, like furniture, like inventory. Your new role has no title, it has responsibilities. You accompany 2 men named Flaco and Beto on collections. You stand behind them in doorways. You say nothing. Your presence is the sentence. Your face is the punctuation. You do this for 14 months. You never raise your voice. You never have to. The first time you are asked to do more than stand in a doorway is you are 22. It is November. The temperature that night is 41 degrees Fahrenheit. You will remember that detail with the kind of clarity that has nothing to do with wanting to. You are not asked, you are told. And the difference between those two things, the precise, airless difference between a question and an instruction, is something you already understand by then. You understood it at 17, standing on Calle Nogal in the wrong jacket. You do what you are told. You drive home before sunrise. You shower. You sit on the edge of your bed for a long time. You don't sleep. But the next morning, you eat breakfast. You eat a full breakfast, and the eggs are hot, and the coffee is too strong. And outside the window, a dog is barking at nothing. Life continues at its normal resolution. That is the second thing they take. They take the moment after, the weight of it, the reckoning, and they replace it with routine, with forward motion. Guilt requires stillness. They make sure you are never still. By 24, You have a car, a phone, and a salary. The salary is paid in cash, in a brown envelope every 2 weeks, without paperwork and without conversation. It is not a large salary, it is a functional salary. Enough to move into a 2-bedroom apartment. Enough to send money to your mother, who does not ask where it comes from, who places it in a drawer beneath her good tablecloth, who lights a candle every Sunday in church for reasons neither of you will name out loud. You are now what the older men call de confianza, of trust. It is not an honor, it is a classification. It means you have survived long enough to be considered an asset rather than a liability. It means the calculation of your value has shifted. It means you are harder to replace and harder to discard. And those two things, in this world, are as close to security as security gets.
Phase 3. The system. Here is what they do not tell you, and what you learn entirely by paying attention. The system runs on approximation. Everyone in it operates at approximately the right time, with approximately the right information, handling approximately the right amount of money. No one knows the full picture. That is structural. That is designed. The man above you knows one layer more than you. The man above him knows one layer more than that. At some point, the layers stop meaning anything to people like you. You learn to work within the gap. You learn that when an order doesn't add up, the right response is not to question it, but to execute the part that makes sense and wait for the rest to become clear. You learn that paperwork doesn't exist here, but record-keeping does. In phones, in memory, in the specific way a man's eyes move when he's deciding whether or not you know too much. You keep a careful inventory of what you know and what you let others see that you know. These two lists are never the same. You learn that money disappears at every layer of transit, a little at a time, the way water disappears from a glass left in a dry room. Everyone knows. No one mentions it. The unspoken contract is that you take your portion with discretion and perform your function without error. As long as one is true, the other is forgiven. You skim 2%. The man above you skims 4. The man above him skims 8. At the top, the numbers are large enough that the math stops being visible. There are rules here that were never written down. You do not touch anyone who has not been sanctioned. You do not work in someone else's territory without introduction. You do not use the product. You do not get arrested in a way that creates conversation. You do not discuss what you earn with the men who earn the same. You do not ask about the men who disappear. You follow these rules not because you fear punishment, though you do, but because you have internalized them so completely that breaking them has begun to feel structurally impossible. Like being asked to breathe underwater, like being asked to walk through a wall. That is the third thing they take. They take your concept of the impossible and they rebuild it around their priorities. At 27, you believe certain things cannot be done. At Phase 4, those were de-erosions. You are 31 when you realize you have not made a decision about your own life in 4 years. Not a real one. Where you live, what car you drive, what city you are in on any given week, these are not your choices. They are assignments. They arrive as instructions, and you execute them, and the life that accumulates around the edges is simply the residue of compliance. You have a woman you see when you are in the city. Her name is Valentina. She is patient in the way that people become patient when they have no good options. She makes dinner when you are there, and she does not make dinner when you are not. And she stopped asking you questions about your schedule approximately 2 years ago. You appreciated it when she stopped asking. You no longer appreciate it. Now it simply is. The silence between you is not comfortable or uncomfortable. It is load-bearing. You both live inside it because there is nothing beneath it that either of you wants to find. Her daughter calls you Tio, even though you are not her uncle. That detail costs you each time you hear it. You have learned to not examine the cost. Your friends from before, the ones from school, from the neighborhood, have been gone for years. Not dramatically, gradually, the way daylight leaves in November, not all at once, just less and less each day, until one evening you look up and it is dark, and you cannot identify the exact moment it happened. Some of them moved. Some of them know what you are and maintain their distance with a politeness that is indistinguishable from fear. One of them, his name is Tomas, you grew up 3 houses apart, saw you on the street 2 years ago and walked in a different direction without breaking his stride. You do not blame Tomas. You understand Tomas completely. You are 33 and you weigh less than you did at 25. Not because you are ill, because you have stopped eating like a person with a future and started eating like a person with a task, functional calories, efficient hours of sleep. Your body has become infrastructure. You have a recurring pain behind your left eye that begins every morning around 9 and dissolves around noon. You have been told by a doctor, not your doctor, a doctor who owes someone a favor, that it is stress. You did not respond to that diagnosis. There was nothing to say. Your sleep is shallow and procedural. You wake before the alarm because some part of your nervous system no longer believes in the safety of deep rest. You lie in the dark and you run calculations. Who knows what? Who owes what? What is moving? What is still? What is about to move? You fall asleep again just before dawn, and the 2 hours you get there are the only hours that feel anything like rest. You have been doing this for years. You no longer know what you would do with silence that was genuinely safe.
Phase 5. The Shattering. You are 35 years old, and you are sitting in a parking garage on the 3rd level, waiting. You have been waiting here for 90 minutes. The man you are waiting for is late by an hour. His name doesn't matter. What matters is the instruction, and the instruction was clear. And you are a man who executes clear instructions. But tonight, for the first time in a long time, you were thinking. Not calculating, not processing, thinking. You were thinking about the jacket with the hole in the sole of your shoe. You were thinking about Chucho handing you $40 in the cold. You were thinking about the specific texture of that first payment, the way it felt to be valued even minimally, even conditionally, even at the cost of everything you didn't know you were spending. You were thinking about Tomas walking across the street. You were thinking about Valentina's daughter saying Tio in a voice that expects warmth, and how you have given her the surface of warmth for years without ever finding where you stored the real thing, or if it is still there, or if it was spent so long ago that looking for it is simply an accounting error. The parking garage hums. Somewhere below you, a car engine echoes up through the concrete. The fluorescent light to your left flickers at irregular intervals, and you have been watching it flicker for an hour and a half, and you have not moved. You were not waiting for the man anymore. You were sitting with the understanding that arrived quietly, without announcement, approximately 40 minutes ago while you were watching the light flicker. The understanding is this: you were never going to leave. Not because they won't let you, though that is also true, but because leaving requires a self that exists independently of the system, and that self was disassembled so gradually, so procedurally, that you were present for every piece of it and noticed none of it. You did not become this. You were made this. And the system that made you does not distinguish between those two facts. You sit in the parking garage for another 20 minutes. Then you start the car. You complete the task. You do this not out of loyalty or fear or conviction. You do it because it is the only fluency you have left. Phase 6. The cycle. At 38, a man named Rodrigo, not the same Rodrigo, there have been 3 Rodrigos, tells you that you were being moved, not up this time, sideways, to a border city 400 miles away. New territory, new structure, new faces who will look at you the same way you once looked at the men above you, with the specific, calibrated deference of someone mapping an unfamiliar danger. You pack a bag. You don't say goodbye to Valentina. You leave an envelope on the kitchen counter with enough money to cover 3 months. It is generous by the standards of this world. You know it is not generous by any other standard. You drive north as the sun comes up. You last another 2 years. At 40, you are no longer useful in the way you were useful. The body carries the years now in ways it did not before. The calculations are slower. The reactions are slower. A younger man once waited in a parking garage for 90 minutes without moving, watching a light flicker, holding absolute stillness like a professional instrument. Now, you are the man that younger man will replace. You know this because you have done the replacing. You have stood in doorways and watched the older ones get moved aside, not violently usually, just procedurally, and you felt nothing in those moments except a faint, factual recognition. Now, you are on the other side of that recognition. You get an exit that most men in your position do not receive. It is not a reward, it is a calculation. You know enough to be dangerous, but not enough to be catastrophic. You know faces and routes and procedures that are already obsolete. You are retired in the way a tool is retired, set aside because a newer model serves the function more efficiently. There is a small house, a sum of money that will last if you were disciplined, an instruction to stay in the new city, to stay quiet, to not exist loudly. You are 40 years old. You sit on the front step of the small house in the early morning. The street is empty. A dog crosses at the far end, heading somewhere with certainty. The light is the particular gray gold of a desert sunrise, and it falls across everything without preference. The dirt, the walls, the satellite dishes, your hands. You think about the corner of Calle Nogal. You think about standing in the cold at 5 in the morning with a phone, watching a road. You think about how that morning felt like the beginning of something, and how it was, and what it was the beginning of was this. 2 blocks north, a boy who is approximately 17 years old is standing at the edge of a corner. He is wearing the wrong jacket. He is holding a phone. He is watching the road. A man will shortly come and hand him a small amount of money, and the boy will stand a little straighter when he takes it, and the man will watch him like a mechanic watches an engine, looking for the failure point. The boy will go home before sunrise. The next morning, he will eat breakfast. He will go back. You do not watch him long. You go inside. You make coffee. The coffee is too strong. Outside, the dog is still walking. The system does not notice that you are gone. It was not built to notice.